Hey everybody, I'm Chris Fafalius, and I'm the producer of Krista Makes a Podcast and the host of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
And I'm Matt Kelly, host of Horror Movie Night and the producer / the head of content for the Geekscape Podcasting Network.
Between the two of us, we have, believe it or not, 25 years of podcasting experience, and we want to help you start your own podcast.
We know podcasting, and we want to share that knowledge with you.
So whether you're new to podcasting or you want some feedback on your currently active podcast, we want to help.
Or perhaps you're just overwhelmed with all of the editing work. Well, we can help you with that also.
You can check out our website at weknowpodcasting.com for more information.
We're excited to help your podcasting dreams become a reality. Gonna be fine.
Yeah, bitch. I told the devil to take back.
It's a good jam.
Oh my god. The music on this show. I was just listening. It's only on SoundCloud. I love the themes of different shows, of course, every episode, whatever.
Well, you've said some like wild things about themes. I think like the Magicians, you have like very specific music cues. Lost, yeah.
Is the other one. Like Hurley's Handout, certain things. And I love the names of them. I'm like, because this one, my two favorites from the finale episode of season 4 of Wynonna Earp, which we're talking about, finally, was Home and Doc's Leaving or something like fuck me up. My dream is to pick music for a show.
That I've said that for a really long time, that if I could get any job in Hollywood, as much as I would love to be a writer or director, music supervisor is the position I want.
So I will just preface it. First of all, I just want to say, I don't care if this podcast is 18 hours long, it's not enough time.
No.
I'm stressed out already. I have so much to say. I became an Earper in 2020. It was the best thing I ever did. It swallowed me up whole out of my depression and spat me out on the other side of it. It was amazing.
We were talking about this through text messages this week because I feel like you and I have a very interesting text relationship.
Sure.
In the sense of like, there are periods where we text constantly every single day, and then there could be like weeks where we don't really say anything outside of show note based stuff. This was one of the text almost every single day as you were just like piecing together your thoughts about what was going to happen.
I'm so stressed out, you guys. Listeners, I'm fucking stressed.
But we were talking about like shows like this. I'm not saying that if you put on Wynonna Earp, it's going to pull you out of your depression.
Right.
But like we all have those special shows that remind us of that time and how they helped us. Like for me, it's Scrubs and like that 70s show and How I Met Your Mother. But like for you, it's obviously like Wynonna Earp, Magicians.
Yeah.
I would say Jane the Virgin was a really big one where it was just like grabbed all of the sadness and gave you that distraction that you so badly needed.
I mean, mid-pandemic, going through a breakup, I was falling into this thing where I couldn't watch anything new because I needed comfort characters, right? I needed something I knew was going to bring joy. I couldn't risk it. Yeah. And anytime I started something new, like I got through I got through Sweet Magnolias or things that I'm like, this is cute. I can power through it.
Yeah.
But Wynonna Earp, I started watching right before season 4 dropped, and it literally just took me by storm. My brother-in-law had been telling me about it for forever, but I'm like, what is Wynonna Earp? Like that name itself isn't like a good pitch. You know what I mean? I'm like, what is that?
And I feel like I want to dig into the back catalog in one of the like pandemic episodes because I think you bring it up that you started watching it, and it almost felt like you were like kind of lukewarm at the start, and then somewhere around like the end of season 1, beginning of season 2, you were like off to the fucking races. You were like hardcore fan.
Okay, fans out there, this is what happened. I know exactly what he's talking about. It was like, we record every week, right? So in the very beginning, no one takes my recommendations except Matt. I will exclude him from that narrative. But no one takes my recommendations, so I know not to just like dive right in. So I think I said something like, yeah, I'm watching the show Wynonna. This isn't a recommendation. I'm just saying I'm watching the show. And then the next week, I remember being like, holy shit, you guys, I'm obsessed with this show. It's out of control. And I think like this show is absolute magic to me for so many reasons, right? And I don't even know where to begin.
I guess we should let people know that if they're listening to this and they've never watched Wynonna Earp, this might be an episode to skip.
Well, here, why don't we pitch Wynonna Earp for a pitch for anyone who hasn't seen it, right? So the reason I really love it and I stick with it, it's like science fiction rooted in truth, right? Because Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, OK Corral, they're all things that exist. So Wynonna Earp is the descendant of Wyatt Earp, and he is her great-great-granddaddy.
Yeah.
And he was a old-timey gunslinger with Doc Holliday, famous. Again, it's real-life truth. So he killed all these people. He got cursed by a witch. And now every Wyatt Earp heir, when they turn 27, they have to kill all the demons so that everyone he killed rises from hell and becomes a revenant or a demon. And the heir is responsible to kill them with Peacemaker, which is Wyatt Earp's gun. But it's the amazing science fiction of it all. I mean, even just in season 4, we talked about it today. Like, I cannot believe in season 4 we got Cupid putting a spell on everybody episode where everyone's falling in love. Episode where the Earp sisters lose their memories and are just like fucking basically body swapped. And then a brain-eating Kuru trivia night episode all in one. Like, the genre of it all is so good. And I think people get stuck on season 1 because it's setting the layout. It's a bad guy of the week. Like, some people don't like that, and it stops after season 1.
It is very similar to Buffy in the sense of like, first season of Buffy it's fine, but it is very much just monster of the week. You're not really getting to love the characters the way that you do in later seasons in Buffy. And for me, like, I watched Wynonna Earp in the worst of possible ways. I remember season 4 because we were doing it week to week at that point. But like, I watched most of the second season the weekend of my brother's wedding, just like in a hotel room.
This show has been one of the most rewarding shows to have done the work.
Yeah.
I put in the work to become an Earper. When I tell you, now I've seen this show 5 or 6 times all the way through. I've consumed like 100 hours, and I'm not exaggerating, of supplemental content, whether it's the hundreds of panels that are on YouTube or shout out to Kevin and Bonnie of the Tales of Black Veg podcast. I listen to basically all of those, and they have like all the actors and actresses and all. And where I first went wrong, right? This is where I went wrong.
Yeah.
Is I fell in love with the people who make the show. And that's what it is. Like, the people who make the show top to bottom love this show to death too, and they love the fans. I read a tweet that was like, the difference between this show and all the other shows is that this show loves us back.
Yeah.
And season 4 was a complete love letter to the fans. Like, the Earpers fought like hell to get a season 4. It was quote unquote canceled because the production company didn't have the money for it, and they fought like hell. And I just want to say thank you, because I wasn't in the fandom during that part. When I joined the fandom, season 4 was about to air, and I would have been so devastated if it was like I am now that it's canceled, quote unquote. I'm still holding out for a season 5 or a movie or something.
But you did get a good ending.
Oh my God. I can't wait till we get into it.
Yeah, we'll get there. But like, there are shows where you don't even get the satisfying ending. It just like cuts off mid-storyline cliff. Like,
well, could you imagine if we left off with Doc and Waverly going into the garden and then just being like, peace out? Wynonna drugs everybody's whiskey and is like, peace.
Wouldn't be the first or last time that a show ends like that.
That would be a crime against humanity.
Oh, I know. But it happens.
I know. This is the weird thing. Like, I know Emily Andress is a showrunner. I know all the writers. I literally, from season 1, episode 1 to season 4, episode 12, every time I watch it, I look up who's the writer, because I want to see like similarities in episodes they write. Their comedy being like, oh, this person wrote it. There's probably going to be some really good one-liners or whatever. There's always good one-liners.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Are there other shows in your past that you've been that obsessed with? Or is it pretty much just The Magicians in this one where you've like memorized writers and directors?
Okay, so this is the most I've ever dove into. When I tell you that when 411 aired, the penultimate, I was in a wedding. Saturday was a wedding. Obviously, it aired on Friday night. I told the girl I was staying with in the hotel, my best friend, I said, you're not in this hotel room from 10 to 11. Like, you're just not in here. Make yourself scarce, because I'm watching this. I had to watch it on my laptop, live stream from my parents' fucking Comcast account, because on my laptop, because the hotel didn't have SyFy, and I was like, motherfuckers, I am not, because the live tweeting and everything, like the whole cast live tweets. My Twitter is now a Wynonna Earp fan account. Like, I only like anyone who follows me, that's my friends, because I didn't make a Wynonna Earp fan account like most people do because they're obsessive about it. I just use my own damn Twitter. I don't fucking care. So all my followers are probably like, what is she doing? Because I'm just retweeting way hot gifs
It's
constantly.
just like Kathleen has lost her mind.
Right. So I think for me, like I have an obsessive personality, I have addictive personality. So I think 2017 was the year that I became obsessed. Like it started when I watched Supergirl. I was really fucking obsessed with that. And then I got into all the Arrowverse stuff, Flash, and I was full in. I mean, going to cons, stuff on my wall, like everything. But not to the point of writers. Then I got into the 100. I think the 100 is probably the closest because it happens when you binge a lot at once. Like I would say The Magicians is obviously a top show for me. If not, honestly, it's crazy because I always say number one, but it is teetering. It's just like the whole experience of this was fucking incredible.
I mean, it's also though
recency bias.
I do think that there is a recency bias. It's the same thing as like when you hear your favorite band's new album and you're just like, best thing they've ever put out. And then like 5 years later, you're like, no, that album that I've always loved is definitely their best.
I think Wynonna Earp and The Magicians would shake hands and say, you're great.
Yeah. No, I mean.
If they could meet each other.
Honestly, of like your top three, like Grey's is the one that like doesn't match. Like
I know.
Like it's very
tough.
weird.
It's hard for me. Grey's Anatomy was always my top show. But as I've grown older and I really just appreciate these.
I think it's just growing up with you.
Yeah. Diving into this show on like a molecular level has been just like the joy. And it's really like honestly fulfilling. Like I feel like I can't have this conversation with people because they don't get it. I know you do get it, but it's like I'm watching these panels and like Melanie and Dominique and Kat, like they're so thoughtful with their responses. They're so funny in real life and they love the show. And even like something like Dominique was on the Tales of the Black Badge podcast. It's literally episode 125. I memorized it because I've listened to it like 10 times. And she's able to talk about the Jolene episode because it was after season 3 and they dive into depression and all this stuff. And it's a comfort podcast for me because I just relate so much and she's so intelligent and sweet about it. And I'm just like, God damn it, I love these people so much. It's
and
sick.
You want the people in your shows to like the show. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like Scrubs is my favorite show. And I'm glad that there is a Scrubs podcast.
Yeah.
I don't love the Scrubs podcast. It's fine.
Yeah.
But listening to Zach Braff and Donald Faison just sincerely be fans of this show that they did. Mm-hmm. This is two people who legitimately love each other. So when they're playing these characters that love each other, there's not even acting happening anymore. Mm-hmm. Even with me not knowing the whole backstory, when I rewatch some of these episodes of Wynonna Earp, especially in the later years, it's like, oh, these people fucking love each other.
We both know this is a fact of life that it is absolutely crucial for a cast to love each other and have chemistry for a show to go from good to great or even fantastic.
Yeah. You can have the best writers in the world, but like it's hard when you watch stuff. I mean, there are exceptions. Like the exception that I always think of is something like Dirty Dancing, right? Like Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey hated each other. Like the scene where they do that like really sexy dance with each other, they apparently were not on speaking terms while shooting that scene. They were like,
fuck you.
Yeah, like it was like there are people who can pull it out, but you also hear these stories of like, oh yeah, this star and this star hate each other, and you watch the show and you're like, yeah, they really don't like each other that much.
Yeah, and that's a shame. But now that like Bingetown had a couple of the cast members of The 100 on to interview, and I've interviewed a few from The Magicians now, and they just can't stop talking about how amazing the other cast members are, and even so, it's like, it makes sense that the shows I love, the cast members all fucking love each other.
But I think it even makes sense, you know, you and I, neither one of us would call ourselves actors, but
fuck no.
I would say even as podcasters, you know what I mean? Like,
of course.
Like I have so much respect for you as a podcaster. I have so much respect for the Bingetown people as a podcaster. I have respect for Julie as a podcaster. And I do feel that you have respect towards me as a podcaster as well. And
totally.
I mean, that's kind of like I've also met podcasters where I'm like, you're a dick.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to deal with them. And that's the closest I'll ever come to like understanding that like group effort in a set, but like especially being all part of one network, like being under that Geekscape banner where, you know, having Jonathan bring Bingetown on the show, having him bring Femme Fatale on the show, having us bring someone from Femme, like having like that constant, you know, we're all kind of swimming in a pool together.
I'm going to bring us back to Wynonna.
Please do.
So one of the best parts of the show is that it's female centric, right?
Yep.
I mean, the guys on the show are incredible too. It's extremely feminist down to the boys, but this show is about the girls, right?
Yeah.
Everyone in town, even Doc, like the boys know the assignment. And the assignment is Wynonna and Waverly and Nicole.
Yeah.
Melanie Scrofano was pregnant in season 2.
Yeah.
And the idea that SyFy and IDW and everyone took a chance and was like, okay, we're going to write the pregnancy into the show. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know this for a fact, but I would assume they barely got a season 2. I mean, it's like, this show doesn't have a gigantic fan base, obviously, but it has a fucking loyal one.
It has a strong one. It has a strong and
Yes,
loud one.
yeah.
SyFy very much seems like as long as we can afford to make this
Yeah.
show happen, we're going to make this show happen if the fans are there.
They
for it.
renewed it for 4 and 5, but they just
Yeah.
don't have the money, which sucks. And we'll get to how perfect the end of 4 was in general. But yeah, I just like, I've seen Melanie cry on almost every panel talking about how it was unheard of to say, okay, we're going to write this in. Obviously, there's other shows where they write a pregnancy in. Magicians, Stella Maeve was
But a
pregnant
lot
in
of the
season
time
5.
they just make them stand behind things and try to block it out.
They wrote it in. And Melanie was literally in fights and still crazy chick with the gun, whiskey soaked and reckless, minus the whiskey. Just they wrote her exactly as she would have been. It's just she's pregnant and she's not drinking. There's still an amazing fight scene where her and Waverly are training, and Waverly has like the 2 like nunchuck type things, and Melanie like belly bumps her and still kicks the shit out of her, basically.
And
like
it's
incredible.
That's very, to me, I'm like, that's something that's so powerful,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like I have always considered myself a feminist man.
I can confirm.
My entire life, you know, there's been the debate of a female president. Like we finally have a female VP, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And like the amount of ignorant bullshit that's like, well, what is a woman going to do if she's pregnant, or if it's, you know, like there's always some sexist bullshit.
She's gonna throw off the nukes if she's on her period.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so to have a show where it's like, yo, I can be pregnant and be the exact same fucking badass that I am,
Mm-hmm.
like that is such a powerful statement. That's the stuff that I really think Wynonna Earp, it's saying something without having to even say it.
Yeah.
You're just seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've said this a million times, but I really do thank you, because you've gotten me through this pandemic with a lot of really great show recommendations. And I know we've got to dive into season 4, because like Wynonna Earp at the start, when I watched it, it was kind of like, I liked it. I wasn't in love with it in the same way of like, I got into Jane the Virgin. I got into The Magicians.
Yeah.
But when season 4 happened,
Mm-hmm.
and having almost like a water cooler conversation with you, of being able to like, you would watch it on Friday or Sunday, I think sometimes
It was Sunday
aired.
for 4A and then Friday for 4B. Yeah.
So I would download it the following day
Mm-hmm.
and watch it, and then we would just text about
I was like
it.
waiting for your text to text me just like the one-liners.
Yeah,
Like,
and like I legitimately, the penultimate episode was nowhere to be found for so long, and I was getting upset.
yeah.
Like I think I was texting you. I felt bad because you were at a wedding. So
Oh.
it wasn't like you were going to be able to respond anyway. But I think I was texting you. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Did it even air?
Yeah. So let me just tell you just a quick little anecdote. I'm at this wedding. I'm at the rehearsal dinner, and I keep telling people, we got to get back to the hotel by 10 o'clock. This bitch is in her room. And I kept saying Wynonna Earp. Everyone randomly was like, what the fuck is that? And mind you, the entire bridal party is my best friend's. Like, it's one of my best friends getting married. I was sharing a hotel room with my other best friend. It's like, whatever. Bridget, who I was sharing a room with, I kept having to hear about it. So the next day, one of the other bridesmaids watched it. So we were talking about it. People would come over and be like, what is it? What is it? On the last time someone goes, can you explain it to me? I started pitching it, and Bridget walked up and just immediately turned right around and walked away. And it was like the funniest thing. It was like, this bitch cannot hear me talk about it anymore. I'm a walking advertisement.
I feel like this Wynonna Earp episode is also like, hey, this is an episode about why Matt and Kathleen get along so well.
Yeah.
Have you had moments like this where you are like, I know that I have talked about this thing so much to this person.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it probably is driving them crazy, but I need to like express.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're getting how important this is to me.
We're just about to get into why the show is so fucking amazing. But yeah, I'm like, and you get it because you're a TV. First of all, people are inferior if they can't understand the like connection to a TV show and
sure.
how much I've learned from this TV show. And they laugh when I say that, but I'm like, you don't understand.
No, because
and you're inferior for it.
the thing is, I mean, you've got Wynonna and Magicians, like I said. My examples are always going to come from Scrubs, but like there are episodes of Scrubs and How I Met Your Mother that I can point to express an emotion that I don't know how to verbalize.
Yeah.
I have a friend whose relationship is in a really shitty place.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching an episode of Scrubs and I just texted her and was like, hey, I know this sounds insane, but like, go on Hulu and watch season 4, episode 20.
Minute 27.
Yeah, but it was just like,
Yeah.
I was like, I know that this is weird. I don't know how to tell you
Mm-hmm.
what I think you should do, but I think that this episode will do it. And I mean, I think of what Joe did.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Therapy through television shows,
Mm-hmm.
having people come and tell you, like, this is what I'm struggling with. And it's like, well, then try watching this episode. Like,
Yeah.
it
And
just
TV's
works.
just getting so much better. And
We're in the best age of television ever.
Oh my God. And okay, I just want to talk about like why I love the show and connect with it so much.
Yeah.
So one, I said this to you recently where I'm like, I didn't know how much I wanted to see myself in a show. I
Yeah.
love all TV. I'm obsessed with all of it. I enjoy the differences, right? Like I love anything that's opposite of me because I need to learn about that stuff too. But this, in so many weird, different ways, made me go, holy fuck, I am connecting with this on another level. So we'll start with Wynonna. Like she is just this flawed but like hilarious and misunderstood, so broken, and I wouldn't say that I'm anywhere near that level, but I get it. And Melanie Scrofano says like she's so much like Wynonna, and I saw this, I might misquote it, but basically it was very early on. Her and Shamir Anderson, who plays Dolls, were at a con table, and Melanie is just like crying and being like, when I was growing up or even early on in my career, like people told me like people don't like it when girls are funny. People don't like it when girls are this or that. And it's like, fuck you, dude. Don't like tell me to smile here and don't tell me I can't curse because it's this. Like I feel that on like a deep, deep level where I'm just like an unfiltered, I try to live as unapologetically myself as I can, and sometimes I feel like I'm just being a wacko and nobody gets me. And so this show is so beyond fucking weird that I'm like, there are people. And Emily Andress, when she launched season 1, she's like, I'm scared to death. Nobody's going to get this.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody, but the people that do love it are like, I am seen.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, like the Way Hot, like all the representation, that relationship has scarred me for life because will never settle.
No, I think that, and you and I had that text message
Yeah.
as well at one point where it's just like, I deserve to be with someone who loves me as much as
they love each other.
Yeah,
I know. But I don't think I think the beauty of Way Hot is one, okay, on the representation side, right? They are the flagship relationship of the show, hands down. Wynonna and Doc are amazing too, but they're on and off.
They're plot characters in their story.
For relationship wise. I mean, Nicole and Waverly are everything. Okay, so the bury your gays trope, when season 1 was dropped, it was coming out right after Lexa died on the 100, which was like, bury me. I didn't sleep for a week after I watched that episode. I was devastated. So Clark and Lexa were an LGBTQ couple on the 100, and anyone who's listening to this obviously knows this, but I'll tell Matt if he doesn't know. So like Klexicons, that was their ship name, were created in Vegas. That was like strictly
These
LGBTQ.
nicknames are amazing.
I know, it is amazing. So it was airing right after that, but when they were writing season 1 and shooting it, it hadn't happened yet. So it's not like they were like, okay, we can't bury our gays. Like Emily Andress wrote on Lost Girl, which was also like, Bo is a bisexual succubus on that too. So she's very well equipped to write for this. And Nicole gets shot in the finale and was wearing a bulletproof vest, right? And it was like a fuck you to the bury your gays trope. And Emily Andress actually came out and was like, they're not going to die. I'm just telling you, like, this is an insane statement, but I'm not going to bury the gays. And it's so amazing because after season 4, everyone was hashtagging like marry your gays, which is just the fucking best.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, that's the whole point of where we're at now.
Yeah.
I think I talked about this on another episode, but there's a great documentary called The Celluloid Closet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting because you're watching that documentary, which was made in the early 90s. And at the end of the day, like, what they're talking about in that documentary is representation by any means necessary. So like, yeah, does it suck that any time that there's a gay character in a TV show, they're either a villain, they're a sassy friend, or they're dying of AIDS?
Or just there to move the main character story along.
But they're like, you know what, like representation by any means possible right now. And like now we have this point where there are so many shows where like a character is gay and it is not a plot point. It's just that's who they are. And like seeing stuff like Zoe's, which you and I both adore as well, like having a character like Mo that they're just gender fluid and that's their thing. Like seeing stuff like that, seeing the fact that we've gotten to this point where like that's not what it's about anymore. And that we will actively speak out against like burying the gays, representation by any means necessary. Like that is not appropriate anymore.
No.
Like we're well past that.
And the beauty of Way Hot is that none of the struggles they go through are because they're gay.
No.
The struggles are just basic, like, oh, fuck, there's a demon. Oh, fuck, I'm not an Earp, and she didn't tell me. Like, shit like that, which is amazing. Season 4 also had a bunch of really cool things where, like, in the Cupid episode, he was pansexual. So when Waverly asked him about who he was so heartbreaking on, she says there. And then later on, Bunny Loblaw, played by Jan Arden, amazing, was like, bi lesbians, and Nicole was like, Waverly's bisexual. And they do a call out later, and they do a lot of cool stuff that it's like labels matter, how people identify matters.
Yeah,
and
your pronouns are important.
But yeah, I mean, I'm saying that I'm striving and I won't settle, but it's not like over the top crazy.
No, it's just knowing your worth.
Love. Yeah, it's just love. It's not like they're shoving it in your face so much that it's like that's unattainable. Yeah. It's like that's a real love. Like when the Cupid guy, Dimitri, I think his name was, looks at her and it's like, I chose you because I've never seen people in love like this. And ever.
And that's like the stuff where sitcoms kind of struggle with that, obviously, whereas this show doesn't. Like I think How I Met Your Mother did something similar where like even when they break up, there's never a point where you have any doubt that Marshall and Lily are like destined to be together. But I think that what I liked about Way Hot, what I like about Marshall and Lily is that they are very healthy relationships, but they're realistic. There are arguments. There are disagreements. There are tough times.
They do get sucked up into the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that's toxic is when you basically show a couple that just like they meet, they both fall madly in love right away. They both know that they're destined to be together and they never fight.
Or the opposite of a bad show is when you know they're going to end up together, but they just throw a wrench. Yeah. And they keep them together for apart for X amount of episodes just for angst.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate that.
But the doc, Wynonna one, we got to get into season 4.
We do.
But like that one works in a way of like, there's like a 200-year age gap between us.
It is honestly out of control that we never... Wait, I have a question for you. Totally related to love. Do vampires eat people? When they were stuck in the cell, they kept saying, can I eat her? Don't eat her. I'm like, it's really just sucking the blood, right? You're not eating that person.
I mean...
He is a horror movie pro, so this is coming from the goat.
I mean, I think that you can play around with the format however you want, but like, you could say in the sense of like, in Evil Dead, they talk about like, I'll swallow your soul.
Yeah.
Like it could be more like, not so much cannibal as like just eating their essence, taking their life from them for nutrients.
I was like, Doc, just lick it up off the floor. There's so much blood on the floor. Just lick it up, brother. That was a really good scene. I love when Mercedes is like, I give consent. Now go and suck me off already.
Yeah. Oh my God, so good.
Hurry up and suck me off. But talk about just a utility player. First of all, Mercedes went from, let's see. She was introduced as a real estate agent.
Yep.
Then she got her face ripped off and stolen, and she was widow Mercedes. Then she became long white hair goddess, still a widow, evil Mercedes, got murdered. Then the next season, they brought her back with bandages and then fixed her face, and then she became Bullshar's motherfucking wife. So funny. Then they opened it up, and she had to take care of a hurt Nedley, and then was with Kate. And then when they come back after the hiatus, she is a fake vampire at the glory hole, and then at the end she gets turned into a real vampire.
Let's dive into season 4.
Before we do that, I just want to say one thing. The show is so good, and it might not be be the most high budget show. But the thing it has is the relationships. And as long as you have the relationships, like the Earp sister relationship is the greatest thing.
Many tears I think more tears because of Wynonna and Waverly than any other relationship in the show.
And I don't know if you know this, the 7th episode of every season is always dubbed like a Nicole and Wynonna episode, like why not is their ship name or friendship name, but their relationship's amazing. Jeremy and Waverly, Jeremy and Doc, but the Earp sisters are incredible. And I have moments before we dive into 4. I just want to say there are certain moments like when Wynonna finds out she's pregnant and then the time jump and she gets the I'm all in no from Doc is fucking incredible. And that's a Earp sister moment, really. The season 2 finale is out of control. Mel had the baby like 3 days later, which is seriously insane. She is such a badass. Season 3, when Wynonna tells Doc he can't come in the house because he's a vampire and they're like sobbing on the front porch yelling at each other, is just, I can like feel the vibrational chemistry coming off of them when I watch them. We'll dive into all the different ones in season 4, but the one thing that they all have in common is that Melanie Scrofano is really good.
She's very good in this.
She's gonna have an incredible career.
All of them deserve an incredible career, but something is wrong in this world if she doesn't.
I'm so excited. All right, finally, season 4A and 4B felt like almost like The Magicians to me, where it felt like 2 different seasons, right? Like The Magicians led up to the apocalypse at the end of episode 6, and then a whole nother issue basically in the second half, right? I think for you're really dealing with, okay, where is everyone at after season 3? Half of us are in the garden, half are left alone. There's that crazy time jump, but it's a lot of like still high stakes. The 3 episodes I really want to talk about, I think were season 4, episode 2 is my favorite episode. It's really hard to definitively say that after 4B because there's so many incredible ones. But the finale is perfection.
I was going to say, you wanted 2, the finale, and the Halloween episode.
Yes, those are the best. Since you binged seasons 1, 2, and 3 really quickly and came into 4, and 4 is what you really paid attention to, what are your general thoughts? Like, what did you think as like, not, you're a fan, but not like me, obsessive fan.
No, I don't think I would ever be you, but
who could be?
But I do have my shows where I am you.
Yeah.
I mean, like we just did Veronica Mars, which was like, for me during the pandemic, that Veronica Mars was very much like my Wynonna Earp, where it just like pulled me in. When I watched it, I really got drawn into, again, the stuff that I kind of missed. There was quotes and stuff but like season 4, I was like, the writing in this is really tight. Mm-hmm. The characters are really funny. They're all really well fleshed out. None of them feel like a carbon copy of another character. They're all
totally
their own unique pieces. I don't know if I necessarily love this episode or I just have very fond memories of, I think you said it was episode 6, the frog episode.
Yeah.
I remember watching that episode on Monday. I'm like at my house. I'm literally making a cup of tea with my laptop next to the teapot watching this episode, and then the dogs needed to go out, and I paused it and walked outside, and a frog was sitting outside.
Yes.
And I texted you the picture and just said Wynonna with a question mark. That episode I just have very vivid memories of watching, so that's always going to stand out for me.
Yeah.
The Halloween episode, I think it's a legitimate bummer that episode didn't get to air in October because it is one of the best Halloween episodes of any series.
Talk about comedy chops. Dominique as Waverly and Mel as fucking Wynonna, and then basically being the opposite. Like they take on each other's personalities, and they do not have the weight of everything that's happened to them in the past few years and all the curse and everything. Just the goofiness. Like when Waverly's like, don't step on my nuts, man. I'm off duty. I'm like, there's so many fucks in that. Oh, first of all, Wynonna for season 4 moved to the 10 o'clock time slot. So they got that mature rating, and it benefited from it, which is why the show could never be on the CW. That's why the live tweeting is so good. I feel like there's a scene where in that episode where Wynonna and Waverly are with Eamon, and they're getting into the final costumes of the episode, and they're like, fuck it up, and like saying random shit. And then even the behind the scenes stuff, it's like, we had so much fun. I've never had that much fun in my life, basically, than shooting that episode. And Chili Cook-Off Casey's in that. P.S. Dance like no one's watching. Just so fucking funny.
The other thing with the Halloween episode, and this is obviously where like the Kathleen and Matt divide truly is like when you think of the Halloween episode, you think of the Wynonna Waverly body switch type situation, where for me, I think of like, yo, that is the best fucking monster they have ever. Dude, that Pumpkin Jack
yeah.
is he looks amazing.
And it's a girl who's playing it, which is amazing.
I think I texted you. I was like, I would watch a feature-length film franchise about this character.
Yeah.
It's so good. Like, as a horror movie fan, it is one of the most interesting and fleshed out creature stories I've seen.
Okay, we'll get to that moving in, but I want to briefly hit on episode 1 because I loved the garden.
Yeah.
It was just not what I expected at all. Like, that's just like jarring, snowy, the stone structures.
It was beautiful. It's a beautiful set design.
Apparently just like negative 1 billion degrees outside too.
I could imagine
they
that
suffer
too.
through.
I mean, that's Canada.
That's why 4B was so earned, I feel like, that they got summer in Calgary to shoot that, because it was a gorgeous change. Like, it led to even changes in their characters, I feel like, just the weather change in that wedding.
4B was perfect. Like,
4B was literally perfect.
Like, 4A was fun, and obviously I have the live tweet memories after the fact of messaging you. But like 4B, I think it was like within the first 5 minutes of every episode, I was just like, yo.
I mean, I wish you could see me sitting in my bed, door locked, just like smiles touching my ears or crying, whichever lent me to. Either way, I was either crying or smiling or both. It was such an event. It was one of those things where I'd rather watch alone and live tweet with all the super fans than sit with somebody who's just fair weather fan and like them not understand it and me just be like, Season 4 was absolutely a love letter to the fans. And I want to ask you a question, but it's just like they knew how the fans spent all this money to get billboards in Times Square. Like, that is incredible. Like, billboards all over the place, but Times Square, that is fucking insane. So there were so many fan nods. There's like, that's what the beauty of like digging into all the panels and knowing all like the jokes in the fandom and even watching so many times that you understand all the nods to previous seasons and like Easter eggs and shit like that. It's just the best. I mean, the first thing they open with in episode 1 of season 4 is Nedley's like, I feel like I've been standing here for 2 years. Like, it's like, there's a nod that anyone who binges it right now won't understand that joke. You know what I mean? So when I want to watch it with someone and be like, this is it, and that, and this, and that, it's like, this is amazing. But yeah, I'd like to dive into episode 2 because it's the fucking best.
Yeah,
and
you love this episode.
I was stunned by episode 2. It was so fucking funny, but so emotional at the same time. Like, all the reunions and everything.
It has a little bit of everything. Like, if you
really
were to
does.
show someone a single episode where like they might not get the context, but they get like what is the tone of the show.
Yeah.
Like, it captures the high concept sci-fi nature of it.
Yep.
It captures the witty dialogue, and it captures the sexiness because that ending, boy.
So I would like to say 4A is like Kat Burrell's half of the season. She was incredible. She had just fallen through the grate at the end of episode 1. So, and then we see quote unquote her in the garden naked, right? Like Doc sees her and is like, hi, like, what the fuck? Just amazing. So she's in 3 places at once, really. She is at the BBD Black site with Rachel, who is a great addition. I would have loved to see who was writing the lines for Rachel, because I feel like they nailed her as a Gen Zer. Like, I'm like, who's writing these amazing lines? I love it.
It was like the writer's teenage daughter.
Yeah,
like they did nail her character. Like,
she was such a good breath of fresh air. There's a few that stick out to me. Like, might butcher this line. Like, first of all, when they're introed to Rachel and Nicole like bops her with the butt of a gun, and she's just like, congratulations, you cold-cocked cast member of Little Women. And then she's like, I hope you guys, and then Rachel's like, I hope you guys are super dupes for getting the jump on me. And then there's a scene later where Nicole is hurt and they're trying to get to her. This is in episode 2. And I love this so much because the promo for season 4 started with Wynonna being like, my celestial sister, my vampire baby daddy, my hot cop. Like, it was like this really like ethereal like sounding thing, and so she kind of says that to Rachel, like, we're not losing anybody else, blah blah blah, and then Rachel just looks at her and goes, your life is wild, and girl, like, she is all of us. Like, it's so funny. Like, I feel like you're breaking the fourth wall when Wynonna's kind of like walking through who all the characters are, and this girl's just like, what the fuck?
But I mean, it's so easy to love those types of characters.
Oh my, they're the best. Like, there's a part where she says, she looks at Doc and she's like, are there any olds around here? Can you just give me a straight fucking answer? Like, any olds is so funny. Like, they're acting like they're all like 60 years old, although Doc is 1 million years old.
Well, I texted you my favorite stupid pun in this episode. Oh, it's a clona. It's Wynonna.
Well, on my second rewatch of season 4, I had just finished Orphan Black, so I didn't appreciate it in the first one. But she says Wynonna, and then she says, "Jesus, Orphan Whack, take a Midol and a nap." Anyone who watches Orphan Black knows it's a show about clones, which is amazing. Like, it's so fucking funny. There's so many good, funny, really like comedic sequences in this. So when Wynonna's lacking oxygen, when they're quietly walking through the zombies in like the hazmat suits, and she's just like, "Hi, mute aunt, but where's my mute uncle?" And she's just like, it's like the jokes are so stupid, but she's performing them so. And then she's like,
that line made me laugh out loud, and I was like, I should be ashamed of myself.
Oh, it's so dumb. And then she's like, I might butcher all these because I didn't actually write them down, but she's like, "I don't ever half-ass it. I ass and a half it." And it's like, Nicole's just like, "What is happening?" And she's like, "I wasn't getting no oxygen, none." And it's just, it really lends to just Melanie Scrofano's comedic timing and how she reads something on the script and does it in real life. Everyone I've seen talk about her is like, gives 1,000% every time. She's always locked in. She's never half-assing it, for a lack of better term.
There's a lot of lines that literally said by anyone else would not have worked.
Exactly. The second really funny thing is when Wynonna it goes to find Doc in the garden, when she finally gets to the garden, and they're like fist fighting, and he's not believing that it's her. And there's so many good lines where he's just like, "Stop impersonating the woman that I care deeply for." And she's like, "Well, it's still the emotionally constipated Doc." But I really like when he's like, "You're a fraud and a harlot." And she's like, "That's your favorite thing about me." But the best is when she says Dollywood, and they're like, "For when private time gets a little too honky tonk." And I'm like, oh my God, it's perfect. I think what we lack in this series is a Doc and Wynonna sex scene. Like, we never got their relationship in like a peak.
And like, it's almost to detriment with the show, and I hate saying it like this, but like the fact that we get like Wynonna and Doc getting together after the Way Hot wedding.
Yeah.
Just wasn't nearly as invested in that relationship. Like, I was so much more invested in the Way Hot relationship.
Fun. Oh, you mean the whole time or in that finale?
In that finale.
Oh my God, that's so insane, because I was going to say this is the only episode, the only one, where I was not more invested, but as invested. And I thought their performance, I was like, are they going to get together or what? Like, I knew Way Hot was in the bag. I knew it. We had it in the bag. The whole point leading up to it was like, this is the Way Hot wedding. This is for you fans. Fuck yeah, we're doing it. So I was like, that's fine. But let's go. Doc and Wynonna, get your shit together. And when he was like, "I'm leaving," I was like, oh my God.
I think for me, it was just like, I mean, the classic, the will they, won't they of sitcoms. I just was kind of like, yeah, but you haven't really told the will they, won't they story for a couple episodes. Like, it just kind of felt like, oh, fuck, it's the last episode. We got to tie this one up.
You know, as I rewatch it, you really see the love that Doc has for Wynonna and vice versa. But, like, she is his girl. She is right off the bat. It was there. And in the 4B teaser trailer, they overlay his narrative, and he's like, "I'm not ready to lose my greatest love of all." And I was like, I cannot wait to hear where he says that. And I loved that he said it to Casey, and then he was like, the Earp sisters, both of them. Because then at the very end, when they finally do say "I love you" to each other, I love Wynonna's like, "I love your butt and your mustache and your drawl," and she's like, "I love the way you love my sister."
Yeah,
because the Earp sister, it's so important. Family and friends, like they have to be able to mold. They have to.
That was my favorite line out of that whole thing. Is her saying, "I love the way you love my sister."
Oh, yeah. And they do that really well in the show. Like, I don't know if you notice this in your one watch, but Waverly doesn't say "I love you" to Nicole until the season 3 finale. And they've been dating, like, the first Way Hot kiss on the couch was the 9th episode of season 1. And they were pretty much on for the rest. Yeah. There is one scene in the finale of 1 right before Nicole gets shot where she looks at Wynonna and says, "I love her," but it's like out of earshot. It's like a widely asked question. I feel like it's like, did Nicole hear her say that?
Yeah.
But she doesn't say it to Nicole ever, and Wynonna obviously doesn't say it until the season 4 finale, and it's just like really interesting because you would think Waverly would be like, and she is. Every other thing about her is all in, but she doesn't ever say "I love you" to her, and it's just like, some emotionally stunted thing, like people left her whole life type thing.
Saying I love you is one of those really weird things where I feel like people either fall into say it too much or don't say it enough.
I'm the
like,
say it too much person.
I'm same.
Yeah.
Oh, I pretty much from the first time I meet someone, I know that I love them.
Yeah,
and like
I'm the same damn way.
and then I just need to tell them as like often as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But like I think I've also been friends with those people where it's like it don't come easy.
Yeah. I want to get into just Wynonna's whole backstory. I have like a few more things for 4A. So just specifically in this episode, I've never connected more to a funny like one-liner than this. It's Eve Jeremy. So Eve is inside Jeremy and like messing with Doc, and he's like, there is so much useless pop culture knowledge in this thing. And Doc like pushes up against it. It's like, it is not useless. It shows he has passion. And I'm like, that is me. So that is like,
I
if
think
somebody
we both thought that about each other.
yeah,
when we
like if
heard that
somebody
quote.
understood me like that, I'd be like, you get me.
Yeah.
Like Doc sticking up for Jeremy to a fake Jeremy is so it's like, fuck you. Like literally pinning him up against the wall, being like, how dare you say that about my friend?
Yeah.
Their friendship is so fucking good. Because, I mean, people say he's bisexual too. There's a lot of good bisexual lighting in this show, especially in the glory hole and like certain things. So for like Waverly or Doc, because it joked the whole time that Doc and Wyatt were like banging, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're banging, but even Eamon and Doc was a lot of like, in the episode where Nicole burns like lights a fire in the homestead, he's like, I don't know the size of Eamon's, like gets all flustered about it because they obviously flirt, like Doc and Eamon, and I was just like, I really fucking love that. But like Doc is just very comfortable with himself and took Jeremy right. Like you would think a guy that was stuck in a well for 150 years would like meet this gay kid and be like, what the fuck? He's like, whatever. But they just fell in love right away as friends.
Oh,
and
Jeremy's so good.
He was such a necessary addition.
100%.
He was perfection addition. He's so funny and honestly just like great for the plot. Like we need like this really funny and also really smart guy. The last thing to talk about, you can't glaze over it, is the sex scene, which just stopped me in my fucking tracks.
I couldn't believe it.
I didn't breathe for a full minute. My top 5 songs of 2020 were Ghost by Adeline. Write My Story was the second one, which is the cheerleading Waverly song. And my 5th song was Tell That Devil, which is obviously the theme. So it's like, tell me you love Wynonna Earp without telling me you love Wynonna Earp.
Yeah, your top 3 of your top 5 Spotify songs are directly from Wynonna Earp.
So,
and that episode aired pretty late in 2020 for you to like
it aired in August.
Well, and they do that list in November. So in 4 months, you listen to that song so much.
I'm a music girl too. Like all I do is listen to music. So it is like thousands and thousands of minutes. Especially listening to Kat and Dominique talk about how they went about to shoot that, because it's obviously really important for representation. And I've just heard a lot of people say like, God, if this type of representation for the entire Way Hot relationship, that scene when I was younger, if that was on TV, like, so it wasn't through the male gaze, right? It was
it wasn't. It's what's hot about it is how much they clearly love each other, and
God.
like this is like such a well-earned moment. It's not that it's gratuitous in any way.
No, I've heard podcasts, I've seen video clips of them just saying like, we met up and we talked through every position we were going to do and what are the emotions behind that. And for Nicole, it had been 18 months. For Dom or Waverly, it had been 3 days, but hell, she was in literally the garden and going through all this shit. So it's like, how would that differ for each of them? Like, and what kind of intensity and
But
just...
that's what you want in these shows. You want actors who give a shit about that.
I remember like the moment I watched that for the first time, it was just like, I don't have anyone to talk to about this. Like, this is devastating. Okay, I know exactly the date this aired, August 2nd, because August 3rd is my best friend Bridget's, aka the girl I stayed in the hotel room with, and it was her birthday the next day, and we were all at her house, and I was like, I watched The Best Thing last night and told everybody about it, and everyone was like, cool. Like, poor Bridget has been on this experience with me because I'm just like, listen, I'm pretty sure I got drunk the other night at her house and was putting on like Way Hot montage videos 3 a.m. and she was like, what is this? I just love it. Shout out to Kim, who makes all these insane YouTube videos. It's literally art.
They're really
She's the
good.
best.
You sent me some
I
of them.
sent them everyone that she did like a bunch of tribute ones. She should be hired to do the promos for shows because she literally, I don't know how people's brain works that way with molding different scenes and like having them be such well done parallels. Like, you put 4 seasons into a 7-minute video and I am ruined.
Yeah.
Like, I'm absolutely ruined by this. It's just the best episode. It's so funny, and Nicole and Wynonna's relationship and friendship in the beginning is great. The addition of Rachel, Eve is so good. But really, Kat Burrell was amazing as Eve. She had to stand in the middle of a room naked and then with like a flower bikini on and act her ass off in front of like all these people. And I've heard her say that was harder than actually doing the sex scene with Dom, because her and Dom are so comfortable together and like they choreographed it and you're with somebody, so it's different versus being just like so totally in the middle of a room alone. I'm just like, props to her, because she really stepped the fuck up this season. I thought she was incredible. Okay, so just in a way where I'm going to be a little like girly, I am in love with Waverly.
Yeah.
I'm truly in love with Waverly. The whole series, how could you not be? She's perfection. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's funny. She's everything, whatever. Season 4, I was like, do I like Nicole? No, I'm like, who am I in love with?
You're going to get into a throuple with them.
I know. Oh my God. I really am just like, these two characters like mean so much to me. I'm in love with both of them.
The shows that stick with you. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, The Magicians is a great show.
Yeah.
But like, what's great about The Magicians is watching it and being like, I want to be friends with Elliot. I want to be friends with Quentin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there are shows. I watch Seinfeld. I don't want to be friends with any of those people.
Jerry.
You know what I mean? Like, I have no interest
He's a
in them.
dick.
But like this, yeah, like I would watch it and I was like, you know what? I would love it if like Nicole and Waverly were like those cool neighbors next door that I could like go and hang out at their house every once in a while. And like, you don't have to get into crazy adventures. You're just like chilling on the couch watching a TV show with it. Like, they are the people that you want to spend time with.
Oh
and
my
that's
God.
When TV's at its best, it's a show about people you want to spend time with.
Oh my God. Clip that. I love that. That's so good. The rest of 4A is just the introduction of the clans, which I love too, because they are a real family as well. And I loved that addition. And I really liked how they wrapped it up with one, of course, Nicole made a deal and it got like Doc involved, whatever it was. It did help get them out of the garden. So it all ended up being okay. But I actually really loved, and I think it ties in so well with Wynonna and her struggles of having this Earp curse and not having a choice, right? So for us, Wynonna is our hero. And we're like, fuck the Earp curse. Like, this blows. It's putting so much weight on Wynonna's shoulders, whatever. But in that final episode where Cleo becomes the heir, or the penultimate when Cleo becomes the heir, and is like, they didn't tell me that the Reapers are with me every second of the day and they're just wanting revenge. Ma'am didn't tell me that you are just being poisoned. Like, no wonder Ma'am was such a fucking dick. It's been 150 years, but she's still obsessing over the OK Corral because all of their ancestors are Reapers in her head. Blah, 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 whatever it is. Like, I just thought that was so well done, being like, why are the Clintons so invested in this like 150, 180-year-old feud? Well, and I really loved that. Again, like, science fiction rooted in truth is so fun for me.
Here's the thing.
Legacy's a bitch.
Earp curse fucking sucks.
Yes.
The Earp curse brought so much good into all those characters' lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you're also always going to find good things after a bad thing and then apply that phrase to it. You know what I mean?
For sure. Wynonna would have never met Doc.
Yeah.
Waverly probably never would have gotten with Nicole. All of these things happened because of this really shitty curse that was ruining someone's life.
Yeah.
And like, once they got through it, once they got past all of the baggage, it like opened up this beautiful life for them.
Well, Nicole says in season 3, like, everything good I have is because I came back to the Ghost River Triangle. And then when she became the Agent Shield, Angel Shield, she says, like, everything I love is already here. Like, I don't need anything more, because of course now she's bound to the Ghost River Triangle, but she has Waverly, she has Wynonna, she has Doc and Jeremy and everyone else, and this town. She's the sheriff and she loves it, and it's like, I don't need anything else. I'm good. Episode 6 cliffhanger really is that Wynonna kills Holt. Yeah. And Holt is a human being and not a demon, which is insane. They really did a great job at having Doc see Wyatt on those old-timey tapes, and Wyatt's like just pretty much shit-talking Doc, being like, I just rolled him off or whatever whore he was enjoying at the moment and pointing someone who needed to get got. Like, shot clean through, whatever. And basically it was be like, Doc shot first at the OK Corral, and Doc was like, no, I fucking didn't. Like, I did not do that, whatever. And that is like the turning point of Doc. He's like, wait a second. Doc was bad in season 3. He was a vampire. He was doing bad shit. He bit Rob. He was like tried to kill Robin. Like he did kill Charlie, even though Charlie came back to life as Waverly's dad. Whatever it is, like Doc had a rough season 3, but this season 4, like Doc really had a change of heart and was like, I need to do better. I can't keep living in the past. I can't keep being who I am. And then in that same moment, he's having these realizations and having these conversations with Holt, where Holt's like, why are we like letting something that happened 150 years ago like curse the rest of our lives and the rest of our family's lives? Like, let's make it better for the Clintons and the Earps that have our names moving forward, whatever. And Doc was full in, and then she shoots him. I was like, no. And I had to sit on that for like 6 months to see what the fallout would be of like, damn, she just killed a human being. Before the proposal, when they're on the porch and Doc and Wynonna are having that conversation, and it is intense. It's some of the best acting on the show. And Wynonna's like, we're the same. Like, you're a fuck up just like me. And he's like, I don't want to be a fuck up anymore. Yeah. She's downward spiraling and he's upward spiraling at that point. And she's really going to bring him down back to his natural self. And he doesn't want to be that. He wants to be better.
You've benefited from pretty much only knowing post-therapy, Matt.
Okay.
But there was a bad 4 years, I would say, where like therapy was absolutely needed. I wasn't getting it.
Sure.
But I had friends who I absolutely loved. They were great friends. But the main thing that we mostly did was sit around and bitch about other people behind their back.
And that was negative energy for you.
That was negative energy.
Yeah.
Then I started doing the therapy stuff. And I started like meditating. And I started going on walks. And I started to have this really upbeat, positive outlook on life. Pandemic has really thrown a fucking wrench into a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I was doing really great. And I found that I couldn't hang out with these people anymore.
Yeah.
Because they were still the people who wanted to sit around and bitch about their problems and not do anything about it.
Pulling you back into the habits where you didn't want to be anymore.
And that's the thing. It was like, it wasn't healthy for me. So that's what I always think of with that specific scene in that conversation is, like you said, Wynonna's got a lot of issues.
Yeah.
That still need to be worked out.
Love you, girl. Love you, but you got issues.
And they don't really address it. Like, this isn't a show about, like, Wynonna finding therapy and quitting drinking.
4B is, I would argue that at least they attempt to address it.
They attempt to.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Like, but that's not really what the point of the show is.
Right. I agree.
I think it's more real that, like, we don't get that piece of the story yet. We can sit there and hope. We can hope that, like, now that Wynonna's kind of free from this curse and has this, like, actual relationship with someone who loves them and has her relationship with her sister is the healthiest it's ever been, that like she doesn't need to be just whiskey soaked all the time anymore.
I know, but honestly, I would say she's completely downward spiraling until the finale. And so they have this devastating moment. And I think, my goodness gracious, what an amazing last chunk before the episode ends, and a great way to end 4A because of the pandemic. So they have this argument. The last thing Wynonna whispers in Doc's ear is the Clintons wanted to buy Alice. And just like Mike dropped it. It's like, yes, she shot a human, she killed a human, whatever it is, but like she also had this little bit of information which also didn't help in the moment. Like Rosita said, the reason I wanted to steal your baby is because the Clintons wanted to buy that said baby, Alice, right? And the most gorgeous proposal, All In by Desiree Dawson, it is an amazing song. And they're cutting to Wynonna and Doc just devastated, right?
Yeah.
But happy for this beautiful proposal that's happening in front of them. There's so many emotions, especially for me, right? Like Waverly.
It's a lot of great juxtaposition.
Such great juxtaposition. And Waverly has come so far, right?
Yeah.
Their first kiss, she is like, I need you, Nicole, I need you to say something or do something because I don't know what I'm doing. And Nicole's like, I'm sure you do. And she has just had come so far to where Nicole was about to propose and she said, no, let me.
Yeah.
Like, and technically she did attempt to propose at the end of season 3, but this was just perfect and beautiful with that fire behind them. And then Wynonna just sobbing with a shot in her hand, and Doc like taking his hat on and being really happy, and then just slowly walking out of the door. Like their hearts are shattered into a million pieces, while the other two, it's the happiest moment of their lives. And Nicole just finally got over the frogs and everything. Like she'd been tortured for 6 episodes straight, and Nicole did a great job. Caparel played it so well that she had to play like, okay, I was alone for 18 months. I'm having issues. Like I'm not the same person you left 18 months ago or 3 days ago for Waverly, but That end scene I've watched just by itself maybe 50 times. It's such a good like 5 minutes to revisit. So intense and like packs such a amazing emotional punch. Fuck me, what a good proposal.
So do we want to, I feel like we kind of covered a pretty decent chunk of the Halloween episode. Do we want to just dive into the finale?
I'm going to say my lines that I really like.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so first of all, I just think Mel as Wynonna is obviously really funny, but always, at all times. Dom as Waverly was hilarious in this episode. She was shocking me with how funny she was being, and like some of the like throwaway lines when she's just like she puts on the cop outfit and she's like, why no and they're like looking at each other like Waverly and they're just like, I'm a cop, like I punched that guy, like my training just kicked in, like and Wynonna's like, you're bossy, this makes so much sense, and they just like love each other even though they have no idea who they are. I love when they first step in the fog and Waverly is a ladybug and Wynonna is Britney Spears, and Waverly looks at her and goes, are you late for school? And she goes, whore school? But I don't have too many in this one because the whole episode is funny. I would just be writing the dialogue.
Just literally be like, watch the 45-minute episode.
But R.I.P. really love Casey, Chili Cook-Off, a.k.a. Kimchi from Kim's Convenience.
He's
so
good.
funny. And he was funny in 4A when he was in the cell with Wynonna. It was so fucking funny. But I love when he writes the note and then he just goes, P.S. Dance like nobody's watching. It only works because it's him and he's such a goof. So I don't want to jump straight to the finale. I have a few things. Episode 10 was my favorite at a point. Like recency bias for sure. Once I rewatched season 4, 2 is still my favorite. But 410, I was watching with my jaw on the floor. Like opening with Waverly confronting and Nicole having an intervention with Wynonna was so intense, and her comparing her to her dad. Let's just talk about Wynonna's life, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning, you don't really know how abusive and shitty Ward Earp was, their father, right?
Yeah.
So Mama left when she was young. She killed her dad. Willa got taken. She then had to kill Willa. She was tortured her entire childhood because she thought demons were real and people were like, you're insane.
Yeah.
When we open in episode 1, Gus is like, you're as broken as they come. Nedley's like, why'd you even fucking come back, Wynonna? Like, everybody hates you. Like, why did you even come back? Like, she has lived a very tortured life. I am not surprised. She said, fuck you, purgatory, and bounced and went to Greece, right?
Yeah.
Then she comes back, had to kill Willa, had to give up Alice, has this curse on her back. She has to kill countless demons and now people as well. She has just lived this awful life, and despite that, it's like, yeah, she drinks, but it's like she has all of this on her shoulders.
She's got a lot going on.
And Waverly comparing her to Ward is like such a cheap shot, and was the only time in the whole series I was like, Waverly! Jolene's one of my favorite episodes in season 3, and I just love that it was like depression personified.
Yeah.
And I just love the difference in the Waverly that Jolene was talking to in each episode, because Waverly has grown so much since the last time she talked to Jolene, and she had to like fight tooth and nail to be like, I'm here and I stay, and she was like not very tough against Jolene, doing the best as she can. And then in this episode she's like, fuck you, Jolene. But at the same time, Jolene's making some pretty good points, being like, these are all the people that Wynonna, the souls that she's had to snuff out while you're giggling in Nicole's arms, and you're just like, yeesh, dude.
Yeah.
Content-wise, it's incredible. It's really, I mean, just amazing. An amazing episode. Both of them are amazing. I'm getting to the point where I've watched it so many times that I love, and I've seen so many behind the scenes, and I've seen the actors talk about these scenes, and it's like, there's just a camera in your fucking face at your most vulnerable. Like, it's just so impressive to me. I'm getting to the point where I can appreciate the scenes as from like, they had to act this, and I'm like, whoa,
you're
these
being able to step
good.
out. I mean, that's comes with, I think, just watching a lot of anything, is like you
Yeah.
start to realize, like, I've never seen a camera do that before.
Exactly.
I've never seen someone emote like that.
Yes,
like,
yes.
you do pick up on this stuff, whether like you're schooled in it or not. You might not know the words that you're supposed to use to describe it, but you fucking know good when you see it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am. And like when we talked to Kapil, I was like, I know what you're saying. I felt that, but I couldn't articulate that.
Yeah.
Like, no way. I mean, that just leads into Dark Waverly, and wow, whoa, baby, sexy Dark Waverly. Fuck me up with that low register. Are you kidding me? I assumed that was like done after the fact. I assumed Dom wasn't like, Wynonna Earp.
Yeah,
Your
I'm
journey
sure,
is over, but mine has just begun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's ADR.
Post. It's post, yeah. But damn, so good. And coming off those 3 very, very funny, very genre-based TV episodes coming into these very intense, like the intervention into Waverly and Jolene into 11 is just so crazy with Doc becoming the Clanton heir, and that scene with Wynonna is out of control, emotional and intense, and Nicole becoming the Angel Shield. It's just like, oh my God, they really just wrapped everything up, didn't they?
Yeah, they really it gets intense towards the end. Like,
yeah.
I remember there was a point, I think I texted you at one point where I'm like, I don't know how they're going to wrap all this up in like 45 minutes,
I
but
know.
They did it.
Classic feminist Wynonna Earp is like essential Wynonna Earp is Waverly yelling at Jolene like, save your patronizing mouth garbage. I can be a hero and a wife.
Yeah.
Mic drop. Mic drop.
I can literally point to where I was when that line was said.
Yeah.
Because I was putting together the DVD shelf and had the laptop right next to me while I was like putting it together. And I remember just being like, oh shit. Like,
yeah, exactly. And it's just such a stark difference between the first time she meets Jolene and the second time.
Yeah.
But those episodes are really fucking good. Mel and Tim just have such amazing chemistry. And when he is the clan there and he's like calling her a bitch, being like, or the fucking child dies, pointing the gun at Rachel, like Wynonna crying at Dark Angel Waverly being like, don't go, like don't leave me. I don't want to say it's not acting because it's obviously incredible acting, but especially in the finale, those tears I'm sure flew easily. Like all they had to do was think about the fact that it was the finale and they were just sobbing so hard.
Yeah.
Season 4 felt like a big jump up, right? It just did. It doesn't mean I love 1, 2, and 3 any less. It's just 4 is just, it is brand new. It felt so different and colorful, and
it feels like they knew that this was it, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, look, if this is going to be your swan song, you're going to give the best fucking performance.
Yeah, but
of your
even
life.
Visually, it felt different. It was
that's what
gorgeous.
I mean, from every
angle of it.
Every angle of it, they were like, if we're going out, we're not going to go out as the show that like didn't make a big statement.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it is a noticeably different, it's a brighter show.
Yeah. Okay, so we haven't really talked about the fact that like the Earpers in general are crazy amazing fandom. Like I've been a part of the 100 fandom. I've tried to be a part of the Magicians fandom. No one's like the Earpers. They have tens of cons that are just Earp specific that are huge, like Earper cons all over the world.
Really?
They're just a tight. Yeah, there's so many.
That's insane.
99% of the world, 99.9% of the world has no idea what Wynonna Earp is, right? That 0.1%, to that 0.1%, which I am in, these actors are A-list, like top A-list. Not even just like in the realm of A-list, but like they are our number ones, right? As actors, like you don't get that unless you're actual A-listers. You don't get that. Like I implore everyone to go buy like a season on either iTunes or Google Play. It comes with 12 for each episode. It has a behind the scenes, and everyone knows, everyone says like, listen, we understand that we're never going to get this again. Like this family and this fun of a show, like Jeremy Varun says, like, I assume when the people who were shooting Lord of the Rings looked at each other and were like, this is a once in a lifetime thing. And he's like, this is my Lord of the Rings. Like, I know I'm never going to get this again. I would just drop dead if I ever saw one of them in the wild. I would just absolutely drop dead. I don't know what I would do. I would just, and I know that these are the type of people who would like love if someone came up to them and was like, I'm an Earper in the wild, which is like the best, because a lot of times I wouldn't ever bother anybody, but really this show just means so much to me. I'd be like, all I would be like is like, listen, Wynonna changed my life. I'm a different person from watching it. I really am.
That's really what this whole thing, like, as much as this is Kathleen needed to sit down and talk about Wynonna Earp, like, I think at its core, this is a celebration of a show that you really liked, but I think it's a celebration of why do we do a podcast about television?
Well, we're just different breed. I'm telling you, everyone's inferior. The finale was a perfect hour of television for me. I'm so glad that they decided to do, okay, we have our bad guy of the episode, which was Charlotte Sullivan as the Silk Witch, I think they called her. Just so funny.
So fun and resolved so quickly.
And I'm so glad they did it that way. And it tied in so nicely. Like Charlotte Sullivan is like, there's a little tidbit. The fandom like wanted her on for years, right? She's like another one of those like Canadian legend type things. I think. I don't really know. She was on Rookie Blue. I didn't watch that. But apparently, like, her lines weren't scripted to be sung, and she sung them, and her and Melanie are really good friends in real life, so Melanie was, like, breaking all the time and, like, couldn't get through because it really is funny. She's like, what are you, a cowboy? And he's like, I'm a gunslinger. And she's like, nobody cares. Like, the way she's talking is just so fucking funny, and just the lines she's pitching and singing, it was really like I was giggling. I didn't even have the connection of being like, oh, Charlotte Sullivan, people love that. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, when I watch reaction videos, which boy do I watch YouTube reaction videos. Shout out to Marcy. She's great. Her and the girl Meg she was sitting next to were bugging out. Like, Meg was bugging out when she saw Charlotte Sullivan pop up on the like bottom left in the beginning of the episode. And it was like so cute to watch. I'm like, damn it, I missed that one.
I want you to do me a favor, because I'll never get to experience this.
Yeah.
So I need for you to paint a picture, and I'm sure the audience wants to hear this painted picture too.
Sure.
Paint me you Friday 9:58.
Okay, so
leading into this.
What's happened was, like I said, I binged the whole series leading up, and I finished the finale like midday Friday. I was watching panels. Weirdly enough, my other podcast, Bingetown, was doing our Magicians wrap up that night.
Yeah.
So I told them, I said, when the clock strikes 9:15, I was at my sister's house, and she lives 20 minutes away from my house. I said, I'm leaving, so we need to start at 7. Of course, it went over. And I left. I didn't do the bang, kill, marry. I didn't do anything. I was like, didn't even say bye on the pod. I was just like, I just will be absent. There's 7 of us. I am the only girl, so it's kind of noticeable. But anyway, so I was driving home, listening to Ghost and All In, Until That Devil, and Until It Goes Down, all the classic Wynonna songs. And I was pumping myself up, and I poured myself a glass of whiskey, and I said, nobody fucking talk to me, and nobody knock on my door, and nobody ask how the episode's going. I don't want you to talk. Nobody knock. Nobody. I will be in the zone. I can't talk to you, like, because in the minutes in between the commercials, I am on Twitter looking at the live tweets, like, because as soon as the commercial break starts, I go on Twitter and I'm like trying to read them all at once, and it's really chaotic. So yeah, I mean, I was sitting there holding my breath for the hour and just like totally in love and enamored, but also just nervous. Like, it's really hard for me to actually enjoy it because I'm so nervous and sad. Like, that's just how I am as like an obsessive person. But man, was it just a gorgeous episode. It couldn't have gotten any better, and I couldn't wait for the next morning to go to the gym and watch it. That's been my routine every Friday. I watch it, and then Saturday morning I go to the gym and watch it at the gym again, so I can like really get all the lines and whatever. And
You're like really obsessed.
And I wake up and I read all the TV Junkie.
I did not know that you watched it twice in 24.
I watched it 4 times. I would watch it the next morning, and then I would watch it again sometime in the middle of the week, and then I would watch it the hour leading up to the next episode. I'm not kidding. I just think it gets better every time, and it gets me in the mood to watch the next episode.
This is why I've said this in text message. This is why you are so easy to love as a person.
Oh, I get obsessed with actual humans this much too. I'm a very obsessive personality. Oh my God, it's stupid. Okay, let's get back into it. So Charlotte was really good. I love that wrapped up. It was really cute, and I love that was kind of like Wynonna is in love with Doc. The Silk Witch kind of was like, the dress would only do that if you really love somebody. And Doc's like, word? Yeah, word? Like, what's up? But my first cry of the episode was when Waverly asked Doc to be her best man.
Killed me.
I mean, she's like, you're not perfect, but you're trying every day to be better, and that makes you the best man. And I'm like, you better stop, sis. What the fuck? Because I was like, Jeremy's going to be her best man. And they even say that in the season prior. I'm glad it was Jeremy officiating the wedding, Doc standing up, and then Wynonna standing up for Nicole. I think that was perfect. But Wynonna watching Waverly ask Doc from the trailer was beautiful. Like, in the dress, just so funny and goofy. That was my first cry. My second cry was Nicole asking Nedley to walk her down the aisle because he's been there for forever. The Where You Go, I Go banner is like perfect callback. The vows were incredible. The bulletproof vest. Yeah, I mean, I love what'd you think about the chairs with all the names on the chairs?
So I'm looking, I pulled up our text conversation to find some of my thoughts while I was watching it. The line that hit me to my core was, in love, you are a coward.
Do you have the first part where he's like, on the battlefield, you were the truest warrior hero
I just
I've
wrote
ever fought.
in love, you are a coward.
But in love, you are a coward. Yeah, devastating. That's
Dude,
Doc.
crushed me.
Yeah.
And then apparently, I don't even remember this, but it just says Opa with a bunch of exclamation points and said, I'm crying at the strangest points in this episode.
Yeah, so that's actually a cool nod because Wynonna had just got back from Greece when she came back in the first episode, right?
Yeah.
And then kind of the thing between her and Dolls was that she had a necklace.
Yeah.
That they found. That's why Dolls like traced it back to Wynonna in the very beginning, and like she leaves it on his grave when he dies. I just love that they always bring back kind of like the Grease things, so like Opa, and like in the behind the scenes thing, they talk about how amazing that day was to shoot. Not only was it just the most gorgeous Calgary summer day in the world, but like they shot that all day. They shot the vow scene probably 100 times.
Yeah.
And Varun was like, we cried just as much every time. Like it was like we were watching them get married for the first time every single time, and that Dom and Kat just put so much care into it, and we're like, even when it wasn't their coverage and like a camera was shooting somebody else, they were just like locked in and just like so in love with each other. And even Dominique was like, if I never get married, at least I had this perfect TV wedding. Like it was perfection.
What's the so I'm trying to remember the chairs though.
The chairs had everyone's like Dolls. It had Mercedes. It had Robin. The chairs had just name tags on them, which was really cool because it was a last minute addition and on the day of, because they had a bunch of chairs and everyone was like, there's only 3 people at this wedding. We shouldn't have all these chairs, right? And so they put name tags at the last second of all the people who have fallen, or like it had or people who couldn't show up, like Charlie or Dolls.
That's
or
really
Gus.
sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot about that. The line that I think did it for me, just based on the text messages, was, "You're my whole heart."
Fuck me up.
Yeah, but it's the way it's said too. It's said through tears.
Yeah.
I was done.
Mel is sobbing in that scene. She's legitimately can't get the words out. She's like, "You're my whole." Like,
that's what I mean. It's the way that it's said that like made me start crying as well. Like it was just like, I can't deal with how emotional this is.
So many sweet, cute nods. Another great one is Rachel singing "Wildwood" by Fleury, which is the song that plays the first time Way Hot kisses. Yeah. I wish that I could have seen the fandom, because I lived it. I mean, I know it's like, as soon as I'm wide-eyed and it's midnight, came out of Rachel's mouth, and just like all the Way Hot strippers across the world just died at once. Like everyone's heart just stopped beating at once. The care they took in this episode is without even beating you over the head with it. Like you wouldn't, like I'm sure you didn't even notice that. No. Like that's the cute nod and an amazing nod for people who really fucking care and pay attention. But it's also just a great song, and it's a beautiful song. And Rachel, she's a singer, so they worked it in, which is just awesome. Great. Yeah, Martina is great. So I think the rest is just Doc and Wynonna stuff. I didn't know if they were going to get together. I was fucking freaked out. Like, but his speech about like, they say life is short, but it's long and it's lonely. And if you can like find your people and find one specifically that'll like elevate you and stuff. I was like shivering. I was so like, holy fuck. And when he goes, I wouldn't change a note. Like, because she apologized, like, I'm so sorry for all the ways I heard you. And he's like, I wouldn't have changed a note. And I'm like, okay, that actually, my throat is closing up and I might die.
We got to talk about the mailboxes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the greatest ending of all time. Like, it's the sweetest. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Wynonna, before she puts on the dress, was carving the... Yeah,
I did notice that.
Yeah, so she was carving Nicole's, and then sometimes Holiday and Everyone's Welcome. And everyone just took that as like, that's what this fandom is all about. It's about found family.
That last part. I made the mistake of hopping on Twitter, so I knew that it ended with the mailboxes because you had posted some. No, it's gorgeous. Yeah. And then, but like, I guess I saw it and I was like, shit. And like closed my phone real quick. Yeah. So I didn't see the everybody's welcome portion. And like when that hit, like I was like, that really is what like this show. It's such an inclusive show. So a line in season 1 that people really stick with before they ever hook up, Way Hot, Nicole and Wynonna get like kind of taken, and Nicole is in the hospital, and Dolls is like, what do you remember? What's the last thing you saw? And she's like, Waverly Earp smiling at me from her front porch. So the fact that the end scene is them smiling at each other on their front porch, and it just pans to that, is like a cool nod. Yeah. Wynonna and Doc going to see Alice is like the greatest thing of all time, and then her just looking at him and saying, I'm all in, which is the note he gave her when she was pregnant. I just loved the whole Earp sister moment where first she's scolding her by grabbing her by the ear and being like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, not you, honey, sweetie, whatever. And then pulls her in, and they just have this like
devastating moment where she's like, do you want to go? Because Wynonna's been carrying all of this her whole life, and Waverly's finally giving her permission to be like, we got this, go. Like, go get your happily ever after. I just got mine, and we can hold it down, and I know you'll be back. Like, the growth between the Earp sisters from episode 1 where Wynonna, like, Waverly just, like, brings her in, like, so happily, and Wynonna's, like, patting her on the back. She hadn't been home in a while. They were, like, disconnected, and by the end, where, like, everything she does in this series is for Waverly. Like, literally everything she does. She's her number one. Waverly's priority number one, always. That moment of Waverly being like, my greatest fear was that you would never know the real me, but now I know you always will. It's just gorgeous writing, and being like, go get him. Doc getting on the back of her bike is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen.
That whole scene is so beautiful. I mean, a beautiful moment in a beautiful episode of what I have learned to love is just a beautiful show.
The rewatch value only gets better, and I've even rewatched panels 3 or 4 times that I really like.
Well, that's because you're a sociopath, but
I truly am. It's just like listening to a podcast again, you know? Like, I genuinely appreciate their responses, and not only are they talking about my favorite show in the world, but
they're your favorite people talking about your favorite show in the world.
And they're just like giving really great life advice, and like ways they worked through their anxiety, and ways they like, it's just like they're inspiring people. And they're good people, and you could tell. Okay, I guess the last thing we'll talk about is, if it were to get picked up, what would you want? For me, I think Eve was not wrapped up. So I would want a time jump. I definitely would want some sort of time jump. Obviously, like, Doc and Wynonna need their time to like go out. I wouldn't want it to be fresh off the wedding. I just think it would be like too soon to ruin that happily ever after. Like, give me a time jump.
That's almost why I'm hesitant to even say, oh, there should be more, because it is like, it's
that's
hard.
Kind of the question too.
I know, because it's one of those things where it's like, it's so hard when it's so rare to get such a good, satisfying ending where you wouldn't want to change a thing about it.
Yeah.
That it's like, the second that you do episode 1 of season 5, you've now raised the bar to justify an even better ending than what you've got.
I've seen them talk about this. Like, I've seen them say it, and they all treated it like it was goodbye. They were like, God forbid we don't treat this like this is goodbye, because they had no idea, and they were kind of expecting a pickup after this, which is shocking because of how well they wrapped it up and how gorgeous of an ending, and everyone got their happily ever after. My opinion is, you can't ever get better than that, only because it's all I know, and it was one of the most perfect finales I've ever seen. But I always want more, and I think that it doesn't have to be better, it just has to be the same. It just has to be kind of on the same bar as that. I mean, again, I don't know how they could possibly top this, and these emotions
agree that
I'm feeling.
It needs to be a time jump, though. You need like a good, and I mean like a big ass time jump.
I would
don't
say
mean
5
like,
to 10.
I was literally about to say 5 years at minimum.
Yeah,
like it needs to be.
Alice would be like an 8-year-old.
Well, I was gonna say, if you wanted to get real wild, you could jump all the way to Alice turning 27.
Well, that's what people say. I mean, Emily Andros is like known for being like, I have so much more Earp story to tell.
Yeah.
And of course she keeps saying like, if I knew we had a 5, the way Hot Wedding would have been in season 5. There would have been no need to rush it, but she's like, for the fans, they deserve this. They earned this wedding. I'm giving it to them. I don't care.
Like, there's so much that you can do with these characters, with this world, that keeps us connected. And you can just do like side stories. Like you could literally do an entire comic book series with no Wynonna.
Well, you know there is a comic book series.
Yeah, I do know that there's But you could do a whole run where there's no Wynonna or Waverly, and you're just showing us what was happening for those 18 months.
Okay, that's something I wanted to talk about as well. I would have loved more of that, more of what Nicole and Rachel were going through. I mean, they gave us a lot, but I just wanted more Kat Burrell, honestly. I thought she was incredible.
But I think that there's more that you can do fleshing out characters in other mediums than risking ruining how good this ending was.
I know. The Bingetown boys are so crazy with asking the question, would you have rather, so the Magicians, would you have rather ended it at season 4 with that like big sacrifice that I won't spoil for anybody? or not have that season 5. I'm like, fuck you, that season 5 was amazing.
Yeah, season like
or The 100. Would you have rather ended it at season 5? Which I think is a little bit of a better argument, but still, fuck no. I am such a loyal, blindly loyal fan that I'm like, give me more. I will watch them sit at a dinner table and do nothing.
I'm the opposite in the sense of like, and the example I use time and time again, and it's a show that I adore, but like How I Met Your Mother from the jump was clearly a show that was supposed to be 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah.
While I love that show and I pretty much love every season, there's not really a season I dislike. I do feel like, man, there are points where I'm just like, get to the fucking point with Ted's story. You know what I mean? Like,
totally. Yeah, this is kind of a weird one because they fought for a 4 and we deserved that and needed that, but this ties up so well that it's hard to... If it doesn't get picked up, I won't be devastated. I'm trying really hard to... I am devastated, period. That's just kind of how it is. But I'm trying really hard to be like, I get so much enjoyment out of these rewatches and these panels and these podcasts. I will always be able to get that same amount of joy. I'm telling you, I rewatched this fucking 2 weeks ago and I did it again this week and I was like, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I would more happily take a 6th season of The Magicians because I feel like...
New fillery and they need to come back together.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it was an ending, but it wasn't like...
Totally agree
It wasn't
with that.
like a period at the end of a sentence. This feels like a period at the end of a sentence.
Yeah, I know. It's tough. I'm glad they didn't risk it and I'm glad they gave us a period at the end of the sentence, regardless of what happens. I'm honestly shocked by it, by myself. Like, this takes my obsession to a new level, and I understand that by speaking it into the world on this podcast tonight. But
all of this has been sitting in your brain or in your phone. So, like, it's finally, like, out
I
there.
just think, like, any Earpers who want to be my friend, shout me out at K Spengler. I would love to talk to you. If anyone who didn't watch the show listened all the way through, you're fucking nuts. But it will, if you put the time in, it's like the most fulfilling, satisfying feeling in the world and just like a love fest. Like, I've only felt just pure joy becoming an Earper. Just reading people's tweets and all day long. It's like after every meeting, I'm like, can't wait to refresh my Twitter and see all like the crazy gifs that people are tweeting and like hashtag bring Wynonna home. I'm like, yeah, bitch, let's go.
You're going to start getting into the fucking Wynonna Earp /fiction that I'm sure is out
there. Dude, I've been reading fan fiction for a year. I fell asleep reading one last night.
That's what I mean. There's always going to be new things to add to like keeping this in your life as new, fresh content.
Yo, the fan fiction, the one I'm reading right now is like 88 chapters. I'm on chapter 34 of this fan fiction. I don't even read. Also, it just made me realize I think I need glasses. I'm like on my phone. I had to tilt it sideways and zoom because AO3 is like so small. And I was like, I've always had 20/20 vision. I was like,
maybe not anymore.
Bro, what's happening with my eyeballs? I can't read this fucking sexy fan fiction. Oh my god, it's like it's so funny because some of it's so like fluff and like actual story and like whatever, and then other times it just goes into like, whoa baby, this chapter's smut town. That's the good thing about this fandom. There's like endless amounts.
Yeah,
not every fandom has that.
No. You're gonna be fine.
My last thing I'll say about the Earpers in general is that like as I follow more people and get into like Marcy does the live reactions, which I love. They're so funny. Also does Supergirl reactions. So now I watch Supergirl reactions, even though I don't need that because I'm obsessed with it. But this season is like killing me right now. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But now I'm like watching it for But my point is, all of these people watch all the same shows as me.
Yeah.
It's so funny because the thread is obviously like an LGBTQ. Like that's the heart of all these fandoms.
Yeah.
Which I love. But it's like The 100, Supergirl, blah, blah. The people that I'm finding watch all the same shows as me, and I've never found anybody like that watches those specific set of shows. And the people I'm following are also tweeting about that, and I'm like, yo, we could be friends.
Friendship unlocked.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for listening to that. That was crazy. That was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you it was going to be fine.
Yeah. TV's the best. We should start a podcast.
This has been My Favorite Episode Of. My Favorite Episode Of is produced by Matt Kelly as part of the Geekscape Network and hosted by Julie and Kathleen. Check out our show notes for all of our socials and email us at myfavoriteepisodepodcast@gmail.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting apps, and we'll be back next week with a new episode of My Favorite Episode of.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.